In order for that voice to be amplified, I think the drivers do need to speak up. I know the last couple years have been a little rocky. I do see some smoother seas ahead of us. I do see a lot of good opportunities coming up. There is not a position here in the company that we will not train for.
Hello, and welcome back to CB Talk, the Combined Transport Blackwell monthly podcast. Today is June 21st, 2024, and I'm your host, Nick Card, Vice President of Operations. Today, we're sitting down with Jason to talk drivers, hiring, electric vehicles, and a little bit of golf. But first, the news and updates. Our drivers of the month for June are Melvin Dickens in Heavy Haul, Bruce Sinclair in Blackwell, and Kevin Sveck in Glass and Flatbed. Congratulations and thank you for your service to the company. Our corporate employee of the month is Shasta McNamee. Congratulations, Shasta, and for all of your years of being with Combined. June's safety topic of the month is speed management, which is also this month's Infinity lesson. Speed is our number one violation in the unsafe driving CSA category. Managing speed prevents accidents, it gives you more reaction time when things go wrong, and it prevents you from getting a citation. Don't forget, citations mean money out of your pocket. Not only do you get points, but it makes your wallet lighter, and ain't nobody got time for that. Only 40% of drivers have completed this month's lesson. Y'all have until the end of the month to get it done, so please make sure you get it done. Otherwise, you'll be getting some nasty grams from driver supervisors, and we also don't want to be doing that to you. So again, please focus on your speeding. This is a critical issue. This is an important safety topic, and that's why it's the safety topic of the month. In other news, the growing environmental regulations nationwide in trucking, and in particular in California, continue to threaten the availability of diesel equipment. California has adopted new rules. The state of Oregon has also adopted these rules that will make it impossible to purchase diesel trucks in 2025 or later until OEMs have built new compliant trucks. At this time, most of the OEMs do not have plans to have an engine ready in time. Associations are actively engaged with trying to stop these rules. We have some unlikely partners. In Oregon, these rules were supposed to take effect January 1st, 2024, but thanks in part to a partnership with ODOT, the Oregon Department of Transportation, we were able to get the governor to postpone these rules for a year. We do not believe that we can be successful as an industry again without more support. As a driver, your voice matters. I know it's hard when you're out there driving every day, but getting involved, reaching out to your state representatives, reaching out to your national Congress people, and most importantly, voting is how we can make a difference. Yes, we're many months away from the November election, but it'll be here before we know it. Please stay informed. Please stay engaged. Make sure that you know how to vote, even when you're out over the road in your truck. It's time now for our interview with Jason. Joining me in the studio today is Jason Card. He is Combined Transport's Vice President of Driver Relations. Jason has been with the company for 20 years, and he's the captain of the Combined Transport golf team. Welcome, Jason. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here. I've heard a lot about these podcasts, and I'm excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what a Vice President of Driver Relations does and exactly how you fit into the company.
Vice President of Driver Relations is over the recruiting process. It's the hiring, onboarding, training. I work with the drivers while they're here, take care of them. A lot of times I'm the complaint department. But yeah, I try to work with them throughout their entire career here at Combined Transport.
Well, I know one of your primary responsibilities is working with the recruiting department, and I know they've had some changes. Can you tell us what's new in recruiting for us?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot going on in recruiting. We have a marketing department that's been doing a fantastic job for us, getting us more apps than we've ever received. In fact, we get so many apps now, we have been having a hard time getting to all of them. So I made the decision to bring in some help. We recently just hired a third recruiter. His name is Jesse. He's only been with the company, not even a month now. He's doing a fantastic job. He's already put 3 new drivers on the board, doing really good there. I also hired Jennifer, who is our processor. And the processor, it's a new position that we never had before. Basically, Jennifer's job is to take all of those applications that the recruiters have been working on and doing the background checks for the recruiters so they have more time on the phones rather than doing the paperwork background checks themselves. So that's really freed up their time to get to all the apps and really sort through everything that's been coming through.
So we are getting all these apps. Does that mean the fleet's going to be full tomorrow, or?
Absolutely, yeah. We're working on that right now. Unfortunately, they say there's a driver shortage, which I believe is to be true, but there's actually a shortage of qualified drivers. And it's our job to make sure that we find the best fit for our company. We have a criteria that we need to follow. Unfortunately, every app that comes through does not meet our criteria. So even though we are getting a lot of apps, the board is not quite as full as we would like at this time.
So separating the wheat from the chaff, as they say, is that kind of the job today in recruiting?
Yeah, very much so. I remember when you and I were doing recruiting, what was that, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah.
I feel like, we were getting a lot less apps, but a lot more, the percentage was a lot higher on the qualified apps than it is today.
Thinking back to that time, one of the things that I remember was a good source for us having qualified applicants was our referral bonus. I feel like I don't hear a lot about that program. Maybe I'm not plugged in. Is that still a big thing? Are we still doing that?
It's still a thing, but yeah, I don't know if it's as big as it was when you and I were doing it. I remember I had a really good handful of drivers that were always supplying me with good referrals. Today, we still receive a few, but not as much as we used to. So I would like to take this time and really encourage our current drivers to, go out there and help us, find drivers, and I'll reward you with a nice bonus. The current bonus is $2,500, and it's paid out within the first 30 days. So you have nothing to lose, everything to gain.
$2,500 for a referral. Wow. I guess our drivers must also be seeing the shortage of qualified drivers out on the road. Though, that's a good point. I know I've heard from drivers the concern that if they refer a driver to us, is that going to come back and bite them? I mean, if they refer somebody who isn't very good, is that something we would ever use against our current drivers, for a bad referral?
No. I mean, I've heard the same thing too. And I've had drivers tell me, I won't put my name on it because I don't want it to come back on me. And I just want to set the record straight that we would never do that. If you refer somebody, we still put in the work to vet the drivers. And if we take the chance on them, that's on us. It's never on you. So please give us those names. Let us vet them. If it works out, you get a bonus. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. So
any particular advice for our current drivers out there over the road to try to help bring some referrals in?
You just got to keep your eyes open and meet people. The best place is probably like at shippers or consignees. That way you can actually see them in action. But if you see somebody at a truck stop, or even just word of mouth, if you have a family member or know somebody looking for a job, you don't even need to know their background. You don't need to know our criteria. Just send them our way and we'll do the rest.
Awesome. I know another source for us, and this isn't directly hiring, but training and promotions, moving guys up. How is our training program going for the step deck class, the RGN class? What's new in those worlds?
Yeah, so our training has really evolved a lot over the last 10 years, I would say. And it's one of our biggest selling points too. We have drivers that come here for flatbed, but their long-term goal is heavy haul. And there's not a ton of companies out there that will train for heavy haul. So they come do flatbed for us, put in their time, and wait for their moment to train. Next month, we have a step deck training class where we already selected 3 drivers to move into that class, and we do that every quarter. And in order to make room for those step deck drivers, we're promoting step deck drivers to RGN drivers as we speak. In fact, I got 2 guys training right now. We start as early as reefer. If we have a reefer driver that's always wanted to do flatbed, we'll move you in too. So There is not a position here in the company that we will not train for.
If a driver's interested in starting that process, how do they get that started?
All you got to do is contact your career coach and they'll put you on the right path.
Awesome. You know, you'd mentioned the shortage of qualified drivers. I would imagine having to share the road, sharing truck stops, dealing with people who are less experienced, less knowledgeable. That's got to be a challenge for our drivers out there over the road. Are there other challenges that you're seeing that are making it hard to be a successful driver out there?
Well, you know as well as I do that I feel every year there's more and more regulation placed on us and our drivers. Um, the thing in the works now is we keep hearing about electric trucks. So I'm sure that's going to be coming down the pipeline at some point. Another big thing that I hear is parking. Parking is a really hard thing right now too. There's not enough parking spots for all the trucks that are on the road. And I think you put those two together, e-trucks and parking, we'll see a lot of problems in the future.
So if drivers want to get involved on some of those regulatory issues, what do they need to do for that?
Well, just like anybody else, I think the only way they can do anything is by, talking to their state representatives. It always starts at the top, and the only way to get your voice heard is by speaking to your representatives.
Mm-hmm. Well, that can be a challenge when you're out over the road. You've got all these other things to prioritize. I mean, do you really think that them reaching out is going to make a difference?
I think it can, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know we have associations now, like the Oregon Trucking Association, the American Trucking Association, that's a voice for our drivers and companies. But, in order for that voice to be amplified, I think the drivers do need to speak up. I mean, the associations are great. They are a good voice for our drivers, but I think it means a lot more coming from the people that are doing the work. The drivers are out there every day with in my opinion, one of the hardest jobs out there. And to see the millions of drivers, if they came together to be one voice, I think that could speak volumes.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I do agree with you. Drivers are, they do have the opportunity for a really powerful voice. And yes, you're right. They have a hard job. I know we've done driver appreciation for quite a few years. Is that something that we're going to be able to keep doing our driver appreciation week this year?
Yeah, of course. Driver appreciation is one of the most important weeks for us. We appreciate our drivers all year round, but it's nice to have, a dedicated time where we can have a little fun with it too. Every year we buy a bunch of prizes and put names in a hat and draw. One thing though that separates our driver appreciation from other companies is that we also do spouse appreciation the week before. And, our drivers, as we mentioned, they do have a hard job out there, and it's really hard to do it without support. And while they have our support here in the office, having support from home is always a plus too. And so we want to show our appreciation for that as well.
So when is appreciation, driver appreciation, spouse appreciation this year?
So this year, driver appreciation is September 15th through the 21st. And like I said, spouse appreciation is always the week before. And the way we do prizes for spouses is that we need our drivers to nominate their spouses. So usually in August, we'll send out an email or a message to the truck saying, if you want to nominate your spouse, reply to this message with your name and your spouse's name and why you're nominating them, and that'll get them into the drawing for prizes. You don't need to do anything for yourself to win a prize for driver appreciation. We're going to have a lot of great prizes this year, and honestly, if you guys have great ideas and you want to see something different, shoot me an email or give me a call. I'm always open to new ideas, but I'm really looking forward to it this year.
Do we know what our grand prize is going to be for driver appreciation?
Well, typically our grand prize is usually a cash prize, and that seems to be pretty popular. So unless somebody has a really good idea, we'll probably keep it at that.
Oh, no, I agree. Cash is a pretty popular prize. I'm glad to see that we're continuing to keep the tradition of driver and spouse appreciation alive. I think that's important. Speaking of drivers, I have a couple questions from drivers that I did want to get into while we still have a chance before our time runs out. First question, I had a question about routed miles versus permit miles. A driver had some concerns that they weren't getting paid for all of their miles. And I know that didn't sound right, and so I figured that would be a good question to come to you.
Yeah, that is a good question, and I get that question a lot. In fact, I see it happen a lot. We do pay you for all your miles. Um, what you need to do when you're on a permitted run and the permit takes you on different routes that you normally wouldn't run, you got to fill out a route sheet. And basically, a route sheet for us is just a blank piece of paper. You got to put your starting city, your ending city, and then your via cities whenever the route changes. We don't need to see highway numbers or road names or anything like that. Just put your via cities in between. And then that way, the billing girls, when they're running your miles, they can put in all those VOs and try to get you the most accurate miles as possible. So if you don't do a route sheet when you're off route or off a normal route, then you're not going to get credit for that.
And is that something you just send in with your TransFlow paperwork?
Yes.
Okay. So when you submit all your bill of lading, go ahead and pull out your permits and make sure you add those via cities to match up with what routes you actually took.
Yep. Just another extra page you got to add to your TransFlow.
Gotcha. Another question from drivers asking about plans for new lanes, new dedicated opportunities, anything that's coming up for us in terms of sort of that kind of more of a dedicated regional operation?
Yeah, that's another great question. I know the last couple of years have been a little rocky. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I do see some smoother seas ahead of us. I do see a lot of good opportunities coming up. I expect glass to be picking up really soon. We have Jake in our flatbed OTR division. He is coming up with a lot of great new lanes with special projects. And I think we're going to need new equipment with that. In fact, I know we've already ordered 2 new trailers for that. I've even heard rumors that wind may be picking up again, so we may need new equipment there too. I really think that the opportunity to buy new equipment really depends on the type of lanes that we're going to be getting this year. And like I said, I do see a lot of positivity coming up soon.
Well, that's really good to hear. I know it's been kind of doom and gloomy for a while. Things have been hard, though I think we've been managing to get through really well, especially compared to many of our peers in the industry. Thinking about our industry peers, I know you are involved with some of the association stuff and know some of the other companies. How do you feel like we're doing on the, from a hiring, from a routes and lanes? How does Combine sort of stack up to some of its peers in the space?
Yeah, so when talking to other carriers and people through the associations, like you said, doom and gloom is kind of the theme. Somebody did tell me recently that we're out of the doom, but still in the gloom. But compared to other companies, I feel like that we're doing pretty well. Hiring numbers are lower than they were last year. However, we're still maintaining pretty decent numbers. Our turnover has always been lower than the industry average. It is a tad higher than we're used to, but still well below the average. So I think we're doing okay there. Of course, these are always challenges that we're facing. But I think as far as comparing us to what else is out there, I still think we're on the right track. Again, the training program separates us a lot. I think that attracts a lot of new young drivers. Our student program that we started 7 or 8 years ago is still in full swing. We're bringing in 1 or 2 students a week right now. And I think we're still on the right track.
One of the things you'd mentioned there was the turnover. And something that I know I've seen from, when I've dealt with drivers who are looking to be on their way out is challenges around getting resolution to certain problems. Sometimes it's a lack of just knowing who to go to. And it's hard when you're out over the road all by yourself in the truck to sort of get to resolution. What's your advice to drivers who are struggling with some things and are trying to figure out how to go about trying to fix those problems so, we can address it and keep them here?
Well, I think we have a lot of great resources here. One thing that I always hear is when a new driver is with their coach, they never lose contact with each other. A lot of our coaches are here to help, and that's why they chose to be coaches to begin with. So you can always go back to your coach and ask for advice. But in addition to that, we have driver supervision. These are drivers that have driven for us, and now they're in the office. So they're a wealth of knowledge that you can always call and ask. We have a driver services department still that you can talk to, and they're always willing to help find the answer. Your dispatchers are knowledgeable. So I think we have an endless wealth of knowledge here. I think you just need to be able to pick up that phone and make that call. But I would always start with driver supervision.
Yeah, no, that does sound like a good list of resources. But if you're sort of struggling with the standard path, or maybe you're just not communicating effectively with your dispatcher, I mean, is there like what's next? How should a driver escalate that to make sure they can get to resolution?
I mean, look, I don't want any of our drivers to feel like that they don't have anybody to talk to out there. So I always make myself available. Nick, I know you make yourself available. Melissa Dockery is always a good person. Your department manager you can reach out to, whether that's Chris, Jake, Roger, Scott, or Travis. And then, of course, Mike Card. I see him taking calls all the time too, and he's happy to help. So I think any manager here is willing to take the time for our drivers.
No, that's really good. I think about that manager list. That's a lot of longevity. That's a lot of experience in the industry, and I know we'll do what it takes to take care of the drivers.
Yeah, speaking of longevity too, we just had a long-term employee at 27 years retired today.
That's right.
Mike Stevens.
Wow. Congratulations, Mike.
Yeah, we wish him the best. Congratulations, Mike.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, any other thoughts about your department, for drivers? Anything on top of your head there?
I appreciate every driver out there that's chosen us for your career. I appreciate all the drivers that do give us referrals. Appreciate my team for working so hard to bring in those drivers. And like I said, I do see good things on the horizon. I hope that, that continues. One
last question before we're done. As captain of the golf team, what advice do you have for golfers out there?
Well, as they say, swing for show, putt for dough. So always work on your short game.
All right. You heard it, folks. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you being here in the studio.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks again to Jason for sitting down with us here in the studio. That was a really good conversation. I know recruiting has been a challenge, the issues around drivers, and I think Jason identified it well with the qualified driver shortage. It rings true for everyone in the industry, and I really am looking forward to what's going to be happening over the next few months as the economy should start turning around, and hopefully that's going to help create some more opportunities to get more qualified people into the industry. Our next episode will be out on July 19th. We'll be sitting down with Melissa Dockery to talk all things safety and compliance. Please send us your questions via Facebook or email them to us at cbtalk@combinedtransport.com. We appreciate your participation. It's your engagement that makes this podcast work. Thank you for your time, thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of the Combined Transport family.